Joining us right now is former Deputy Assistant Director of the FBI Counterterrorism Division, Terry Turchi, along with Global Intelligence Analyst and Viollis Group CEO, Paul Viollis. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Terry, let me kick this off with you. What are your thoughts in terms of what the FBI needs right now? We were just talking with Jim Kallstrom, former Assistant Director, who says the FBI needs more resources. What does the FBI need in terms of getting at this motive and more information on this mass shooting?
Well, let's take the resources first, Maria. I agree with Jim Kallstrom. The FBI does need more resources. And I think the specific issue is what kinds of resources. Does it need more agents? Does it need more people to go out and surveil all of this volume of suspects? All those things will have to be discussed. Probably a lot of them will actually be discussed in public in the coming weeks as Director Comey goes before Congress and lays out what he needs. Translators, that type of thing. As to motive, clearly, there's a bigger burden on the people out there in the field that are going to have to finally tell us what this is. So it's really easy for me to say, I think this looks like terrorism. There's several things that I think are hanging up the answer to this. They'd like to probably find something very, very specific that ties one of these two people to somebody back in the Middle East, to somebody in ISIS, to somebody in any kind of terror organization, to be able to say that there was something going on here. There was some recruitment, there were orders exchanged, there were emails, something like that. The problem is we may not find that. We've been telling people in the public for a long time now that we're approaching a phase where perhaps these people could radicalize themselves, and there may be no apparent connection at all between ISIS and the people that they're trying to recruit out here online or elsewhere. If in fact this is the case here today, then we're entering kind of a new phase, and we're going to have to be able to discuss it in a different way and to maybe make a conclusion in a different way. So this is going to be new for us one way or the other, because from a psychology perspective, he doesn't really look like your average terrorist either. There were finally changes in his personality when he came back, but nonetheless, he doesn't kind of lead up to this looking like your average terrorist. So this is a really interesting learning experience for all of us.
Yeah, looking like your average terrorist looks more like watching Homeland to me, and I mean that quite seriously. I am unnerved by this.
They were armed with assault rifles, wearing tactical gear, and they were wearing GoPro cameras, Paul Viollis. It certainly does feel like we're entering a new phase of this. Why the GoPro cameras?
You know what, Maria, when we look at the totality of this incident, it really speaks blatantly to Islamic terrorism. We can call it what we want to call it. We can hold back from, which the FBI is in writing doing so. But at the end of the day, you have two options here. Is it workplace violence, or is it an act of domestic terrorism? And the bottom line is that all indications point towards an act of domestic terrorism. This is well planned, Maria. This is well orchestrated. You brought it before, which I think is a really interesting point as far as preparedness goes. What does the FBI need to do at this point? What resources does it need? Actually, I think that you're going to find that Director Comey is going to move more towards putting more assets in the area of investigating crimes such as this in the cyber area and in social media. We want to know who these guys, who he was communicating with, how he was communicating with them, and that's going to be the telltale sign as to who was connected
Our surveillance ability in this country has been decimated because of Edward Snowden and Jim Comey repeatedly for months and months and months, even before the Paris terror attacks, was pleading for greater ability to do surveillance in this country. The NSA metadata program is now over with a replacement that is surely going to fall short, and you have no way of getting into encrypted devices, and you have no back doors into encrypted apps and the like.
Isn't that true?
Right.
You know, if I could weigh in just
go ahead.
for a
Steve
second.
Rogers from the FBI. Go ahead.
What's frustrating me is last night it was mental illness. Then we talked the president gun control. And you're right. Why can't we just call it what it is? Regardless of what the motive. It's a terrorist attack, for goodness sakes.
And I guess, Terry Turchi, it's because it doesn't fit in with the administration's narrative of ISIS is contained, the terrorists are on the run.
Oh, please.
Well, look, the administration's narrative for a long time has been that terrorism is caused by climate change, or terrorism is caused by poverty, or terrorism is caused by lack of education.
That's right.
The problem with all of that is, if you look at terrorists, a lot of them are highly educated. Very few of them that I knew of came from poverty. None of that makes any sense, and that's a real problem. And what that does is it confuses the public. Right now, I think the only reason that the FBI is holding off on making some sort of a statement about whether this is terrorism or not is they do have to follow the trail. They have to follow the facts that they have until they get everything together. And it's still a little early to have everything together to be able to say what they have to say.
That's
so
fair, but you still get the
that is the reason for the
response in between.
hesitation. But all of this other discussion, this makes this very clear that we have a very serious political problem, because I like to take people back to the 9/11 Commission report. They were very clear. They said the transnational gravest threat facing America going forward is a threat of radical Islamic extremism. What I want to know is where and why did we change how we felt? That was a bipartisan commission that seemed to have it right, and now I don't think we have it right at all.
Terry Turchi, Paul Viollis, good to have you both on. Paul, did you want to make one quick point?
Yeah, just one last thing,
Very
Maria.
quickly,
and
please.
I want to finish intelligence gathering. If our government puts the politically correct handcuffs on law enforcement, we can expect to see a lot more of this.
Right.
Those handcuffs need to come off, and we need to do what we need to do to protect America.
And that's what we're hearing across the board this morning. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time.